you know all the news. You know all the news about Moody downgrading essentially our entire banking industry. You know about the bailouts. That's what they are. Don't let them lie to you. They're bailouts. They are. You know about, well, we now have another one. Looks like it's collapsing. We're not going to go into the details of that right now. And we know about inflation, interest rates. We see the learning loss in children. We see horrible, horrible things happening in the medical community. They can't fill hospitals with enough nurses. People are getting bad medical care. We see all this disaster out there right now. And here's what's really popular on the right, and maybe you've done this yourself. What's really popular on the right is that it's Joe Biden did it. Look at what the Democrats did. Well, you know what today is? Today is the 3-year anniversary of the moment that brought all this stuff in to where we are now.
We're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow over the next 15 days as we combat the virus. Each and every one of us has a critical role to play in stopping the spread and transmission of the virus. We did this today. This was done by a lot of very talented people, some of whom are standing with me.
I don't care if that hurts. We're going to own things here on the right. We're going to be honest about why we're going through pain, why we're about to go through. Look, let's just go over it. Moody is calling it a recession. Most smart people are predicting a recession. I think it'll be worse than that, actually. And even though a depression can't be defined, I think what we're about to go through is going to be more severe than 2008. I say significantly more severe. I think it is going to hurt, and it is going to hurt for some length of time. And we are going through all of this, everything you see right now, including the election of Joe Biden. Everything you see right now is the result of the insane idea that you should look at your economy and say, stop, when you get a virus. It is the dumbest concept I have ever seen take hold around the world, including the land of the free, right here in America. Hey, let's just decide how much we can dictate to people. Who can go to work, who can't go to work, who gets to keep their business, who has to lose their business. After all, someone has the sniffles. I've never seen an idea so insane take hold on the left and the right. And this is what's going to drive me nuts. People on the right who participated in it will now point fingers as we just fly this plane right into the side of the economic mountain. Everyone on the right, especially every elected Republican, every Republican running for office, oh, look at the Democrats. Oh, Democrats and inflation. Oh, Democrats did this. Democrats did that. Multiple trillion-dollar bills passed by Republicans, printing $6-7 trillion before Joe Biden ever walked into the White House. I will not stand by and allow it to happen. I will demand ownership and accountability for the people who did this to us, Democrat and Republican. Did Democrats do it? You bet. Were they worse? Of course they are. They're communists. They're always worse. Republicans paved this road right next to Democrats, top to bottom. All of them did it. That's not fair. Almost all of them did it. About 99% of the Republicans in this country did it. And now, you want to know how doomed we are? Janet Yellen says we're fine. Now you know we're doomed.
I can reassure the members of the committee that our banking system is sound and that Americans can feel confident that their deposits will be there when they need them.
Yeah, I'm not confident. I'm not telling you to go down to your bank and pull your money out. I'm not saying that. You make your own financial decision. That's probably a dumb one to make, so don't do that. But I'm not, come on now. I see what's happening. It's already starting to snowball. And then we have, which banks are going to get bailed out, which ones aren't. Well, Silicon Valley Bank, $73 million. Why would you give $73 million to a Marxist front group called Black Lives Matter? Well, you give them that money because you know what you're buying is membership into the system. And it took them about half a day. No one's going to bail them out. No one's going to bail them out. We're not bailing them out. And then, bing, they get bailed out. Of course they do. They paid their membership into the system. And now something even worse is coming. And this is really why I'm predicting a depression. The banks, because they're starting to freak out and close, and we're seeing things like this, the banks are now pushing for no more interest rate hikes. Hey, don't raise rates. Hey, we're all going to close. Don't raise rates. And it's not like I want interest rates to go up. But remember, there's not a third direction. You either have massive inflation, which can end the nation. It's that big of a deal. Or you raised interest rates to get that inflation under control. I wish there was a third direction. There's not. So now we get a couple bank closures. The banks freak out. They start chirping at the Fed, close, stop it. And now there's rumors out there now. They're going to lower rates or not raise them at all. Everyone knows you should raise them at this point in time. Whew. We got some rough times coming. But hey, I don't want you to stress out about that because remember, Republicans are having hearings.
Then why doesn't the president care?
He cares very deeply.
Then where is his plan?
He stands ready to work with
That's a
Congress to
lie,
address.
because when a bipartisan group of senators has repeatedly requested to meet with him about social, so that somebody who is a current beneficiary will not see her benefits cut by 24%, we have not heard anything on our request.
That'll get them. But that's what Republicans want you to see. That's what Republicans want you to remember. Do you know what I remember? Everyone's forgotten about this by now. You probably have already forgotten about it. I know I'm weird, but you know what I remember? I can't get it out of my head. It just eats at me to this day. The $1.7 trillion omnibus bill. The $1.7 trillion omnibus bill, and here's why it irks me. I want to make sure everyone remembers what the circumstance was. We had just elected a GOP House, so the Democrats were going to lose the House. They had to pass some kind of a funding bill. They could have passed a little mini one so the new Congress, when it got sworn in, could decide on what the major budget items were going to be. But because they were worried the new GOP House might hold back on some of the outright insanity in that bill, they packaged $1.7 trillion of every left-wing handout you could possibly find, and they slammed it through a lame duck Senate. And they not only did it with Republican support, Mitch McConnell went on television and bragged about it.
So, admittedly, I'm pretty proud of the fact that with a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate, we were able to achieve, through this omnibus spending bill, essentially all of our priorities.
They spit in your face, and then they stand up in front of the camera, and they lie to you about it. And they hope you forget. You know how many of these senators get mad that I keep bringing it up? Sorry, senators, I'm going to keep bringing it up forever. Screw every single one of you. How disrespectful you are of us, of the citizens of this nation. That was so disrespectful. And so, to wrap all this up, do remember that as the pain train comes, do remember that it was a bipartisan pain train. I know we love to say it's all Joe, it's all Democrats. 3 years ago, it wasn't Democrats running the show. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. This is not me dogging on Lindsey Graham just because I hate him, because I do hate Lindsey Graham. I actually have some respect for Glenn Youngkin. I think he's done very well for Virginia. I think he's got a great future. But Glenn Youngkin is making a mistake, a very common mistake the GOP makes all the time. It's a gigantic mistake, and it's a fatal mistake, and we've got to talk about it. Glenn Youngkin made 2 of them in this little clip he did. He went on CNN, he did a town hall, and some girl who thinks she's now a dude got up and asked him a question. Here's how it went.
Look at me. I am a transgender man. Do you really think that the girls in my high school would feel comfortable sharing a restroom with me?
Yep. So first of all, Nico, thank you for, again, asking the question, being here tonight, and engaging in this important discussion. I believe first, when parents are engaged with their children, then you can make good decisions together. And I met your dad, and I'm glad that you're both here together. That's really, really important. I also think that there are lots of students involved in this decision. And what's most important is that we try very hard to accommodate students. That's why I have said many, many times, we just need extra bathrooms in schools. We need gender-neutral bathrooms, and so people can use a bathroom that they, in fact, are comfortable with. I think sports are very clear, and I don't think it's controversial. I don't think that biological boys should be playing sports with biological girls.
Okay, let's do this. Couple things. One, it's an important conversation to have. Well, it is an important conversation to have, but not the one he just had. It's an important conversation to have. We just need these gender-neutral bathrooms, and you can pee wherever you want to pee. No. The important conversation to have is the one we're not having, because we have two political parties. One of them is fully insane, and the other one lacks the balls to actually have the important conversation. The important conversation we should be having, the important conversation for that young lady right there, the important conversation her parents should have had with her doctor should have had with her shrink should have had with her friends should have had with her culture should have had with her. The important conversation is this: you're not a dude, you're a woman. You were born a woman. You will never be a dude. There's no such thing as a transsexual man or transsexual woman. Now, you may sit there right now and say, Jesse, that's mean. Jesse, that's harsh. Well, if my son puts on a cape and climbs up to the roof of our house tonight and says, Dad, I'm Superman, I'm going to jump, I can fly, am I being mean or am I being loving when I say, no, you can't, get down before you shatter your legs and break your neck? I would argue I'm being nice. I would argue Nico, or whatever that young lady with the crew cut is calling herself these days, has been cheated by everyone. Parents, culture, medical system, and now cheated by Glenn Youngkin himself on television. But we won't have that conversation. It makes people uncomfortable. It's not very nice. Well, when mental illness has entrenched itself in your society and every part of that society is telling the other parts of society that it's normal and that it's right, you being the one that stands up and says, no, that's not mean, it's courage. Which brings me to my second problem with Glenn Youngkin and why he did it, why he answered it. What are you doing accepting town halls on CNN? This is an old GOP way of thinking, and thus far, from what I can tell, Ron DeSantis in Florida is the only one not playing this game anymore. He's freezing out these major media outlets. But look, it's not just Glenn Youngkin. It's across the board. Trump is the worst offender. Lindsey Graham, they're all terrible. They will take these communist news outlets and communist journalists, and they will go give them just hours and hours of time. Hey, come sit down with me for 2 days. Hey, let me come do a town hall. And then, when inevitably it ends up going poorly because you're playing the communist game on the communist field with the communist referees enforcing the communist rules, they'll stand up and cry, this is ridiculous. This is hypocrisy. Well, if I'm a lamb with a knife wound in my neck and I wander into the lion's den to have a friendly conversation and it doesn't go the way I would like it to go, you're going to have to forgive me if I don't think it's the fault of the lions. We do this all the time. Start treating your enemy like your enemy.
Today, I'm happy to report that the State of the Union and the state of our economy is strong.
I guess let me check my numbers again here. 6%? Inflation numbers are out today. 6%. That's on top of 7.9% we saw last February. So if I'm doing the math, I did go to community college. Let's see, carry the one. That means you're at least 13% poorer now than you were 2 years ago. And the President of the United States of America continues to get up in front of everybody and brag about how well things are going. And did I mention real hourly earnings down 1.3% for now 23 straight months. Now, this is a problem because here's what's happening. All right, I'm going to try to put this as nicely as I can, but I'm just going to give it to you right between the eyes, okay? We are in very serious financial trouble now, very, very serious, and it's about to get worse. Here's why. They're raising interest rates. They're raising interest rates because they're trying to avoid hyperinflation. The only thing that can stop inflation, well, it would be better if you never printed the money to begin with. So in general, you shouldn't stop your economy and print a bunch of money and pass a bunch of $1 trillion bills. But we did that. And so now that we can't undo it, that toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube. So now we have to raise interest rates to avoid hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is the kind of thing that can break your nation up. It's that big of a deal. The whole country just goes right off a cliff. The world stops using the dollar as the reserve currency. It's really, really bad. So we can't afford hyperinflation. So we have to raise interest rates. We have to. Raising interest rates will cause a recession. We know that. It restricts the money that flows around our economy. Money gets more expensive to borrow, so people stop doing as much of it. Raising interest rates will cause a recession, but we have to. We have no choice in the matter. Now, what just happened? Had a couple bank closures. Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank. You saw what Moody's did today, downgraded 6 banks. The banks have thrown up the, hey, what are you doing with interest rates thing? And we're already hearing the rumblings that the Fed is going to be scared off of raising interest rates anymore. Hey, don't raise interest rates, we'll close. But remember like 2 minutes ago when we were just talking about what we must do? There are laws in economics. It doesn't even matter. Democrat, Republican, laws, Constitution, none of these things matter. There are laws in economics. Those interest rates must go up. They probably have to go up significantly. They probably have to go up so much that it causes a severe recession. And they probably have to do all that to avoid something much, much worse. But if we don't do that, because the banks got scared and the regulators got scared and Biden got scared, man, we're heading to something that's not good. And it's not good at all. Here's what Larry Summers had to say.
So my guess is that at some point the Fed will push and push. We will not get inflation accelerate and skyrocket out of control. But my guess is that the process of bringing down inflation will bring on a recession at some stage, as it almost always has in the past.
Did you hear what he just said? Now picture this. Picture them not raising the rates. If they don't raise the rates and raise them significantly, we're in deep trouble.
What am I doing here?
You know what's so revealing sometimes about people? It's the things they brag about. For instance, in my house, it's well known that I have an unhealthy obsession with food. I do. I get it naturally. It's from my side of the family. But I'll come home after a day at work doing radio, TV, and I'll come home talking to the wife, kids about the day, and I'll brag about something I ate that day. I don't do this on purpose, but that's what's in the forefront of my mind. And the wife told me the other night, she said, that says so much about you that you think that's the part of your day you need to brag about. This little clip from Jen Psaki talking about Joe Biden is so revealing and kind of frightening if you just dwell on this.
Now, it's important to note, President Biden does nothing at 9 a.m. He is a night owl. So the fact that he is doing this at 9 a.m. anyway speaks to how vital the White House recognizes it is for him to have his voice out there, conveying that to the American public.
The President of the United States doesn't get up before 9 a.m.? Okay. You know what? Maybe it's for the best. Maybe it's for the best he doesn't get up before 9 a.m. Because I genuinely believe, now maybe this is the dementia that's rotted out his brain, but I believe being in politics for long enough can be more harmful for your soul than cigarettes are for your lungs. I really genuinely mean this. And I think about this every time I watch Joe Biden lie. I'm not naive. I'm not a child. I know all politicians lie. Democrats lie, Republicans lie, Libertarians lie. They all lie. They've all always lied throughout history. I don't think there's anyone, at least in the history of the United States of America, definitely not America's presidency, anyone, Democrat or Republican, who has ever told as many gigantic, easily verifiable lies as Joe Biden. Joe Biden will look at you right in the face and say, look at the sky, it's yellow, it's wild. Joe Biden has opposed gay marriage publicly and on television his entire 9,000 years in politics, the entire time. And again, this is something easily verifiable. If we wanted to, we could take 20 minutes right now and just play you video of Joe Biden not only saying these things on camera, and yet Joe Biden, he just the truth just ain't in him.
I can remember exactly where my epiphany was.
Okay.
Hadn't thought much about it, to tell you the truth. And I was a senior in high school, and my dad was dropping me off. And I remember about to get out of the car, and I looked to my right, and two well-dressed men in suits kissed each other. I mean, they gave each other a kiss. And then one looked like he was heading to the DuPont building, and one looked like he headed to the Hercules Corporation building. And I'll never forget, I turned and looked at my dad. He said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. It's simple. No, I'm not joking. It's simple. They love each other.